Good news in history. September 244 years ago today, Sandra Day O'Connor was sworn in as the first female Supreme Court Justice. She was approved in the Senate 99-0, with one Montana senator being absent from her vote, who later sent her a copy of A River Runs Through It by way of an apology. In her first year on the court, she received over 6,000 letters from the public, more than any other justice in history. Read more about this famous justice 1931 Sandra Day O'Connor being sworn in public domain. No justice has universal approval from anyone, even those who support them. So it's rare that a justice will have a legacy that can be easily summarized with positivity. O'Connor received plenty of criticism throughout her career on her voting tendencies and after her retirement. Voting initially as a Reaganite, the years saw her gradually move into a position of centrism that neither ignited approval from the liberal justices nor satisfied right-wing commentators and politicians who often looked toward her for votes along their philosophy. A particular decision for which she was applauded was her 1970 opinion on whether drug-living dogs violated Fourth Amendment protections. She wrote that needless humiliation of an individual is an important factor in determining Fourth Amendment reasonableness, although she eventually upheld the obvious unconstitutionality of it. More good news on this day. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus letter was published in the New York Sun answering the question from 8-year-old Virginia O'Hanlon in 1860 of an Independence Day in Malta from Britain 1960, Belize from Britain 1970, and Armenia from the Soviet Union 1960. In America, a tribute to heroes was broadcast by over 30 network and cable channels, raising over 200 million for victims of the September 11 attacks. 27 winter days, the United Nations International Day of Peace. On this day in 1913, Mr. Cecil Chubbs bought Stonehenge for 6,600. Born in Shrewton, 4 miles west of the iconic Neolithic monument, he had grown up passing by the Salisbury Plain and admiring it, and believed, after amassing a personal fortune, that a Salisbury man ought to be the owner. 3 years after his purchase, he presented it as a gift to Great Britain's first Commissioner of Works, who received it on behalf of the nation. Stonehenge Diego Dosso CC 4.0. By essay since the early 16th century, Stonehenge has been privately owned. The first proprietors were the nuns of Amesbury Abbey, and it passed from blue-blooded family to blue-blooded family. The Antrobus family bought the Stonehenge estate in the 18th century before, but after the death of family head Edmund Antrobus, his son decided to sell it. Lot 15. Stonehenge, with about 30 acres, 2 rods, 37 perches of adjoining downland and land auction entry. Cecil Chubbs grew up among humble beginnings, but made a small fortune by taking over his father-in-law's management of Old Manor Hospital, as well as through horse racing and cattle breeding. It was his interest in Stonehenge as a local boy that led him to attend the sale. He had no intention of bidding, but while I was in the room I thought a Salisbury man ought to buy it, and that is how it was done. He remained its owner for 3 years, and then, on October the 26th, 1918, he formally handed it over to Sir Alfred Mann, the first Commissioner of Works, who received it as a gift on behalf of the nation. By that time, Stonehenge was a popular attraction, and the ticket sales of about 330 through the year were a lucrative loss. Cecil conditioned the gift by saying that the money should go to the Red Cross for the rest of the war. The second was that there should be free admission during normal opening hours for the residents of Shrewton, his native parish, Nifferhaven, his father's birthplace, Durrington, whence his mother came, and Amesbury, in which parish Stonehenge stands. This privilege was later widened to include all the parishes of the former Amesbury Rural District and is still in force today. 1915, 88 years ago today, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, was first published to wide critical acclaim in London. A linguist and scholar of Anglo-Saxon and German literature at Oxford, Tolkien wrote The Hobbit so he had something marvellous to read to his young children. But upon its publication, so many letters arrived from readers wishing to continue exploring Tolkien's Middle-earth that he slowly built up the manuscripts over the dark years before, during, and after World War II, and arrived at the masterful trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, which together have sold more copies than almost any other book in history. The Tolkien Estate Limited fair use crot, The Hobbit, set in a time of elves and wizards, follows the quest of a hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, along with 13 dwarfs, to win back a stolen treasure guarded by a fierce dragon. Bilbo's adventure leads him from his light-hearted rural homeland on a true hero's journey and back again. In 2012, the book became a series of films starring Martin Freeman and Ian McKellen. C. Lewis, a friend of Tolkien, reviewed The Hobbit in the Times of London. The truth is that in this book a number of good themes, never before united, have come together: a fond of humour, an understanding of children, and a happy fusion of the scholars with the poet's grasp of mythology. The professor has the air of inventing nothing. He has studied trolls and dragons at first hand and describes them with that fidelity that is worth oceans of cube originality. And 159 years ago today, the prolific British writer and thinker H.G. Wells was born. An accident in his young life that left him bedridden with a broken leg was the spark that fanned Herbert George's love of books and stimulated his desire to write. Sometimes called the father of science fiction, he wrote The Time Machine when he was 29 years old, and also authored The Invisible Man and The War of the Worlds.
Well, sir.